Good afternoon, this is Benjamin with ARI, your website company. This video will be to train you in on how to update the prices for the OEM Parts Finder section of your website using your CMS editor. Once you've successfully logged into your CMS editor and you're here at the dashboard page, you'll take the following steps. We'll go into the very last selection down on the lower left corner, Integrations. Underneath Type, we'll select Microfiche. Under System, we'll select Parts Lookup. And under Site, you'll select your site. Whether it is the build address, or if your site is live and you're now doing this, you'll either pick the build site or the final live domain that you're used to seeing above your homepage. Then our last step is we'll click on the large gray button that says OEM Parts Lookup Editor. Now, specifically what we'll be covering today is not editing OEM prices by creating a price matrix, or editing a single part, or editing the visibility of prices. We're actually going to talk about uploading a mass amount of prices using a spreadsheet. So we'll go to Upload Price File. Now, the reason that I'm covering this again is because as of about 2.5 weeks ago, there was a major change to the formatting of the file. It went from .xls to a .ps price. Now, what caused a lot of concern is I had several dealers reach out to me that had done this in the past on our system and said, I can no longer do this because I have no program on my computer that will open up that PS price file. Well, to be completely truthful, I had no idea either. So I had to reach out to someone above me and get step-by-step instructions on the new process. Let's go through it. So the first thing that you'll start with is downloading your file template. So we'll click on Download File Template. And we can see that it says price.ps price. We'll go ahead and click on Open Inside File. And of course, we get the inside file. Now, you're probably saying to yourself at this point, Ben, I thought you said that you couldn't open it with any existing program on your computer. Well, it's not exactly true. Let me show you. If we right-click and do Open With, you can actually select which one that you want. So let's scroll down. You'll want to choose Notepad. And OK. Now, truthfully, all this is going to do is give you the column names that you're going to need to put into a basic CSV file and then upload it into our system. And right before you go to upload the file into the system, you'll simply change it from .csv back to .ps price. Let's go through the basics of it. So we'll go ahead and pull open a blank file within Excel, a brand new one. So we'll go ahead and hit New Workbook, and it opens that up. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and plant those particular items, those column headers in here. And now we'll simply take those names from our Notepad file and paste them over into a blank new workbook. So we'll first grab brand name, then we'll grab part number, then we'll grab cost, and then price, and then call us. And now that we have our brand new workbook formatted with the correct column header names, let's go ahead and grab our information from an existing file that we had so generously donated from one of my dealers to use as an example. Now, it does not have to be another Excel spreadsheet. It essentially can be any format that you can copy and paste from. Doesn't matter if that's online, offline, wherever. As long as you're able to copy and paste from it to this newly formatted Excel workbook, it should, in fact, work. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and start with our part number that we see right here that we're going to be posting from column A in this file to column B over here. We'll click and highlight the very first part number, go ahead and hold down Shift on our keyboard, and simply use the down arrow to highlight all of our part numbers all the way down through line 122. Then we'll go ahead and use the hotkey of Control and C, bring that over to our part number column, and Control V. And there are our part numbers. Next, let's go ahead and talk about our brand name. Now, as you can see from the title up above this is from a Polaris OEM Parts file. So let's go ahead and type in just Polaris, and then we'll fast copy it all the way through all of those 122 lines. So we'll go ahead and go Polaris. Now, to fast copy something to all of the lines that currently have text or another character in them, you simply go to the corner that you see down here until your mouse turns into a small X or addition mark and double click. And then it will go ahead and copy that brand name all the way down to the very last corresponding column characters entered. Next, we'll go ahead and go with cost. Now for this, I could use either dealer 1, dealer 2, or dealer 3. Simply what this was is for this catalog, this particular dealer had each one of these 122 parts sold by 3 different sub-distributors, and so he had a different price for each one. What we're going to be putting in price specifically is the retail price. So we'll go ahead and select underneath the suggested retail in this case. Once again, we'll hit Shift, and we'll use the down arrow key to grab all of that in the suggested retail area. And Control C on our keyboard, and again, we'll go over to Price and highlight the very first field in the column and go ahead and Control V. Now when we look at our very first part that we have in the column, let's take the lowest cost because we're just simply looking to save our customer money. And it looks like the lowest cost in this particular column is dealer 3. So let's go ahead and use that. We'll go ahead and use the prices for underneath the column F, dealer 3, for the cost that we'll provide here, simply because they are the lowest of the 3 columns, and we want the most profit on each part. And of course, since this is the cost to us, that's really the best one to use. We'll go ahead and click here. Again, we're going to go and hold down Shift on our keyboard and use our arrow keys to scroll all the way down through the 122nd part. And again, we'll go Control C, and we'll go over to cost and go in the first field directly underneath cost and Control V on the keyboard, and we'll get those put in there. Now let's go ahead and expand those just to make sure those values correctly inputted. Perfect. Now the last column that you have is Call Us. If you want the price to display normally, in other words, you want that dealer suggested price of $80 to display without any issue, then you'd put in all capital true for that particular product. If you want it to, instead of displaying a price, you want it to display Call Us instead, then you would put in all capital false in here. So since we want these prices to display, and there's really no point if we're uploading this file of prices to not have the prices display, we'll go ahead and to Call Us, and in all capital letters we'll type out TRUE, and then again we'll go ahead and fast copy. We'll go down to the corner of the lower right hand corner of that cell until our mouse turns into that addition symbol or cross. We'll double click very fast, and it autofills all the way down to the 122nd line. Awesome. Now the last thing that you'll have to do before you go through and actually input this into our system is you'll first save it as a CSV. And then once you have saved it as a CSV, you'll go back into your file explorer that you have down here and simply change the file extension to .psprice. And then you can feel free to upload it, and it should work just fine. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll go into our new workbook that we see here. We'll go File, Save As, save it to my documents, and let's do price.csv, and we'll change this to CSV down here. So that's CSV, delimited. We'll hit Save, and there it is, price.csv. So now we'll go ahead and exit out of both of these. And we'll go into our File Explorer. And now let's look for price.csv. And we'll search. And we can see that it found it. So let's go ahead and open that up. Actually, before we open that up, let's just change the file format. So we'll go into here and click once on the title, and we should be able to simply rename it. All right, that's not working, so we'll go ahead and right-click on it and go to Rename. And now instead of CSV, let's rename it to PSPRICE. And now it says you may not want to change the file extension essentially because it may not be readable by your computer, but we knew that already. So we'll go ahead and hit yes, and yes, and there we are. Now we'll go ahead and go back to, well, before we go back to our editor, something that you may need to do because Windows, in their infinite wisdom, decided after Windows 8.1 to no longer show correct file extensions when you're viewing your files in your File Explorer. You may have to do this. Let me show you. Go to View, and then do File Name Extensions. You may have to go through and check that, because depending on what your settings already are, you may or may not have that checked. But if you do not have the file name extensions checked, you will not be able to successfully change that from CSV to .ps price without that being there. Let's go ahead and exit out of here. Now we'll go ahead, and our operation is to insert update. We'll go to select file. Now we're going to go to documents and go price.ps price and search that. And there it is right there. So we'll go ahead and select that and hit open. And of course, it will start to go through and upload that file. Now, one thing that I would suggest doing just to make sure that you have got the file format down is for your first test batch, I would do just the first 10 or 15 part numbers to ensure that you've got it right before you go through and do the entire file of 1,000 part numbers plus. As far as I know, there is no limit to the amount of part numbers you can have in each file. One advantage of this new system is that you do not have to, based on the size of the file, you don't have to break it up into multiple files like you used to have to, which is nice. If it's anything over 1,000 part numbers in here, it should take roughly 30 to 45 minutes to upload, and you should see the progress bar move in accordance. First, it will go through and check the file's formatting, and then it will actually start the upload process. So you will see a full green status bar, and then it'll immediately move to changing this to upload percentage, and you'll see the percentage by which it has completed. Once you are done and those files have uploaded, all you'll have to do is go up into the upper right-hand corner, click on the name of your business, and run that Publish Changes. Then you should be able to go back to your site, open your OEM Parts Manager on your site, and I would say take 4 or 5 part numbers that you have saved in that file, and just simply go look to make sure that they updated correctly. As long as those 4 or 5 match, there is a high chance that the rest of them will as well. That is all I've got for you today. If you have any questions on this process, the best thing that you can do is actually talk to our technical support. So go into your upper right-hand corner, click on Help Center, and then you can either email or call. But for faster results, I always recommend calling. And all of our technical support agents or technicians, whatever you'd like to call them, have recently been briefed on this full process, so they should be able to walk you through it no problem. Until I talk to all of you again, thank you very much for your time. This has been Benjamin with ARI, your website company. Bye-bye, everybody.